Riddle me this, Funhausers. What is squeaky clean, Mormon to the max, has big teeth, more legs than you can count, has sold over 77 million records worldwide, yet you'll almost never hear on the radio? Give up? It's the Osmonds. And in this episode of the Dandy Funhouse, I'm going to give you all the Osmonds you can eat. Let's step into the Funhouse.
Where am I?
You just entered the Dandy Funhouse.
Hello and welcome to the Dandy Funhouse video show, podcast, and blog. This is where we meticulously polish all the retro pop culture, toys and games, and all the fun stuff you can handle until it's sparkly. I'm your host, Neil Dandy, and I hope you're in for a wild ride on some crazy horses today, because this episode is all about the Osmonds. But first, I need to tell you about these funky, fresh Dandy Funhouse t-shirts. With cloth harvested from the ancient fabric mines of darkest Peru and hand-woven by enchanted pygmies, you're going to look and feel amazing. It comes with a front and a back so you don't get cold, and we cut 4 holes in them for practicality's sake. 1 to crawl your body into, 1 to stick your head out of, and 2 to poke your arms through. I mean, who wants a shirt you can't stick your head out of? Well, you're not going to have that problem here. Just get over to dandyfunhouse.com and get yours today. Oh yeah, and if you have one of those remote jobs, but your boss still makes you come to the office here and there for no freaking apparent reason, so you badge in, you grab a coffee, you make your presence known throughout the office, then you badge out and go home to get your real work done, well, you, my friend, are a coffee badger. And here at the Dandy Funhouse, we salute you and honor you and also feel your pain and frustration, so we made a commemorative t-shirt just for you to be relentlessly passive-aggressive in. It's the unlimited edition Coffee Badger t-shirt. Badge in, caffeinate, badge out. And if that weren't snarky enough, we even made a special Coffee Badger coffee mug to drive the point home to your jerk boss before you badge out, wave a few inappropriate hand gestures, and drive home. Or to the coffee shop for more caffeine. You really got a problem with this, don't you? Anyway, go get your quiet quitting self over to the Dandy Funhouse website at dandyfunhouse.com and get your Coffee Badger gear before we run out. All right, the Osmonds. And where do you even start with something like this? Okay, it's like trying to package up the Jackson family without the psychic hotline and creepy home amusement park.
Come and get your lollipop.
But I guess we'll start here. It's the story of a humble farm family from Ogden, Utah, who served their church as worship musicians, eventually finding themselves becoming household names worldwide. George Osmond Sr. and Olive Osmond had 9 kids: Jimmy J, Alan, Merrill, Wayne, Donnie, Marie, Verl, and Tom. Those last 2 were born with hearing disabilities, so in 1958, brothers Merrill, Wayne, Alan, and Jay began singing around town to raise money for hearing aids and also church missions. Their ages at this time were 3 to 9 years old. After a few years of performing locally, their father, George, entered the boys into a barbershop singing contest in Southern California. And during this trip, the family went to Disneyland just for a fun day out and were being entertained by a vocal group in the park known as the Dapper Dans. The boys started singing along, and they caught the attention of Disneyland's director of entertainment, Tommy Walker. Mr. Walker pulled the family aside and made an offer to hire the boys to perform in the park starting the following summer. The family accepted, and the following year began performing in the park as the Osmond Brothers. Now, this presented the added benefit of new opportunities, such as appearances in the Kurt Russell TV series, The Travels of Jamie McFeeters. The Osmond Brothers were also included in a 1962 episode of Disneyland After Dark. During the Osmond Brothers' appearances on Disneyland After Dark, a man named Jay Williams took notice and called up his son Andy on the phone, insisting that, hey, you gotta book these kids on your show, the Andy Williams Show. Well, the brothers became a hit overnight and were invited again throughout the remainder of the show's run, And this continued until 1967. But the Osmond brothers didn't take this newfound acclaim for granted, and instead dedicated themselves to a relentless rehearsal schedule in a quest to be the best. And One Take Osmonds became their new nickname amongst the Andy Williams staff because they always showed up on time, polished, and ready to hit their mark. This discipline was largely due to their father George's military background and strictness, which was instilled into all the kids. During the group's time with the Andy Williams Show, younger brother Donnie was eventually brought into the fold, and not too long after, Marie and Jimmy. America was falling in love with the Osmonds. Well, what else was there to do but take the show on the road? So the Osmonds embarked on a very successful European tour with Swedish singer Lars Lundahl. When the Andy Williams Show eventually came to a close in 1967, without skipping a drum beat, the Osmonds inked a deal to become regular performers on The Jerry Lewis Show, which lasted until 1969, at which time the Andy Williams Show came back and the Osmonds went back to Andy. It was like watching a dang ping pong match. As the 60s wound down, the Osmonds made the bold and somewhat controversial move to embrace a more pop and rock sound, which was a hard pill for Father George to swallow as a devout Mormon. But he relinquished, eventually convinced, and gave his blessing. And this proved to be a very lucrative move because although they began making records in the mid-60s, it wasn't until 1971 when they released the song One Bad Apple that they earned their first chart-topping hit, largely due to record producer Mike Curb taking the band under his wing and teaming them up with legendary R&B producer Rick Hall, whom they recorded with at the iconic Muscle Shoals Sound Studio in Sheffield, Alabama. Mike Curb signed the Osmonds to MGM Records, and One Bad Apple topped the Billboard Hot 100 charts for 5 weeks straight. Now, their subsequent releases during this time, like Double Lovin', Yo-Yo, Sweet and Innocent, Go Away Little Girl, Hey Girl, and Puppy Love, also charted, but none of those reached number one. 1972 brought the cultural emergence of album-oriented rock, better known today as classic rock or dad rock, and the Osmonds tried their own hand with a harder-edged sound. During this time, Donnie had to go and be an instrumentalist on the keyboards because puberty was changing his voice. The Osmonds released the album Crazy Horses, and this featured the hit songs Hold Her Tight, as well as the title track Crazy Horses, which was a not-so-veiled statement about vehicles and air pollution. They toured the United States and Europe, where they racked up a staggering run of 13 hit songs on the UK charts in 1973. This global phenomenon of Osmond fever even had a new term, OSMONDMANIA. But you haven't arrived until they turn you into a cartoon. And cartoon the Osmonds they did, with a Saturday morning series on ABC titled The Osmonds. By the mid-70s, various members of the group found themselves becoming married, and with multiple new families starting, their touring schedule slowed to a crawl, and along with it, their record sales. The younger siblings, Marie, Jimmy, and Donnie, took matters into their own hands and set out on 3 individual and very successful solo careers, with Jimmy hitting number 1 in the UK with Long-Haired Lover from Liverpool, and Marie hitting number 1 on the American country charts with Paper Roses, and Donnie smashing the top 40 charts with a string of 12 hit songs. Donnie Osmond was an undeniable bona fide teen idol. The Osmonds were still performing as a band, but now Donnie was driving the Osmond Mobile with the family band happily backing him up. In 1976, with the help of ABC, the Osmond Family Band was repackaged into a TV show called The Donnie and Marie Show, which became a massive hit. We're talking star-studded cavalcade of guest stars, lunchboxes, t-shirts, dolls, and most everything else you can think of. Donnie and Marie were white hot. She was a little bit country, he was a little bit rock and roll. Together, they were a freaking cash cow. This show was so big that ABC even built Donnie and Marie their own production facility named Osmonds Studios in Orem, Utah, where the show was filmed. But like most things white hot, they burned bright and fast, and by 1979, America had its fill of Donnie and Marie, and the show concluded. But that didn't stop the brother-sister team from taking more shots, starring in a movie called Goin' Coconuts, which went coca nowhere, and recording 2 unsuccessful albums, attempts at sitcoms, a revival of the variety show, all falling flat. Marie, as a solo artist, did enjoy a string of country hits in the mid-'80s, including her #1 duet with Dan Seals, Meet Me in Montana. She also starred in Broadway musicals through the mid-'90s, an ABC sitcom called Maybe This Time, and teamed up with Donnie once again in 1998 for a new version of the Donnie and Marie Show in a more talk format, which lasted 2 seasons. In 2001, Marie released a book designed to help women suffering postpartum depression entitled Marie Osmond Behind the Smile. And after gaining 40 pounds following Mom's stroke, she followed her mother's urging to rededicate herself to her health. And in 2007, Marie started on the Nutrisystem plan, losing 50 pounds and becoming the brand's spokesperson. She even developed her own program called Complete 50, targeted for women 50 and older within the Nutrisystem ecosystem. Meanwhile, Donnie got back to his solo career, releasing the song Soldier of Love in 1989, which became a hit in the UK. But in America, the Osmond brand had become a little toxic for the squeaky clean image and the more modern times wanting something more edgy. So promoters shopped the song as being from a mystery artist, only revealing Donnie's identity once it earned some chart success, reaching #2. Donnie followed this with 2 more songs which became lesser hits, Sacred Emotion and My Love is a Fire, which reached #13 and 21 respectively. In 1998, Donnie lent a singing voice for the animated film Mulan with I'll Make a Man Out of You. Then, like his sister Marie, hit Broadway as Gaston in the stage play Beauty and the Beast, and then a stunning 2,000 performance run as the lead in Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. Now, Donnie also hosted game shows such as the revival of Pyramid, which ran from 2002 to 2004, and won Dancing with the Stars in 2009. During this time, Donnie and Marie also put together a 90-minute live show for the Flamingo Las Vegas. It was originally only supposed to last for 6 months, but it became a huge hit to the point that the show continued for an 11-year run, winning the Best Show in Vegas award for 3 consecutive years from 2012 through 2014. The showroom was officially renamed to the Donnie and Marie Showroom in 2013 to honor the achievement. Now, let's rewind a bit back to the 80s to get back up to speed on the rest of the Osmond clan. Now, during the 80s, the Osmonds fell into debt badly due to teaming up with new business partners who embezzled from them rather than investing in them. Many of these partners ultimately went to prison for their deeds, but the damage was done. Now, due to the Osmonds' strongly held religious beliefs, Father George was steadfast against declaring bankruptcy and ordered his kids to honor all financial obligations by whatever means necessary, forcing the family to return to performing until all debts were paid. Thus, the Osmond brothers reformed with Jay, Merrill, Wayne, and Alan, and leaned into the burgeoning country pop movement. The Osmond brothers enjoyed a couple of top 30 hits, but the new recordings largely fizzled with the more modern audiences. The family was also reluctant to tour and made the choice instead to set up their own theater, the Osmond Family Theater in Branson, Missouri, and promote themselves through videos. By 1983, all family debts were satisfied, and the Osmonds were financially free. In 1987, Merrill teamed up with female country artist Jessica Boucher, and they had a hit song called You're Here to Remember, I'm Here to Forget. But Merrill chose to distance himself from the clean-cut Osmond image by calling the duet simply Merrill and Jessica, due to the lyrical content being a little more racy. Meanwhile, Alan retired from performing due to living with multiple sclerosis, but his 8 sons took up the Osmond mantle for him, performing as the Osmond Boys, later changing the name to the Osmonds second generation. One of Alan's sons, David, went on to form the Osmond Chapman Orchestra. Now, Wayne survived a brain tumor in 1997, which rendered him deaf, and also suffered a stroke, which left him unable to play guitar. In 2002, the Osmond Family Theater in Branson, Missouri, closed its doors for good, but the Osmonds still perform in Branson to this day at Christmas time. Despite all the retirements, health setbacks, and everything else that happens in life, the entire Osmond family came back together in 2007 to celebrate 50 years as a performing family and embarked on a European tour, as well as filming a TV special in Las Vegas, which was their only U.S. performance. Andy Williams even made a surprise appearance at the Vegas show. In 2018, Alan and Wayne teamed up with their family one last time at the Neil S. Blaisdell Center in Honolulu, Hawaii, in what was billed as their final performance. Jimmy also retired that year due to a stroke. In April 2022, Merrill Osmond also announced his own retirement. And these days, Donnie and Marie continue to tour around the world, and Jay Osmond performs still in Branson, Missouri with Nathan Osmond. But despite selling over 77 million records worldwide during their 50-plus year run, you'll rarely these days hear an Osmond song on the radio or used in film or television. And this ranks the Osmonds as one of the most successful, yet least enduring music groups in modern history as far as having their classic hits survive in current rotation. Even so, the Osmonds' contribution to pop culture history and influence throughout the decades cannot be denied. And now you have the scoop on just about all the Osmond history and happenings that I've been able to cram down your throat. How's that tasting? Do you have any special Osmond memories to share? Are Donnie and Marie one of your secret guilty pleasures? Do you turn the volume up to 11 in your car with the windows rolled up while screaming puppy love at the top of your lungs? I want to know. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe, depending on where you're enjoying this episode. And while you're at it, if you've enjoyed this show and found any value in it at all, please consider becoming a Dandy Funhouse supporter by visiting the patronage page at dandyfunhouse.com. Supporters gain access to supporters gain access to supporters get special stuff, okay? You can watch videos no one else can, and super supporters get that. Plus, I'll mail you something if you give me your mailing address, okay? Now, there's an offer you don't find every day. Now, podcast listeners can usually support via a donation button in your listening app of choice, if the app offers it. And 5-star reviews are always highly appreciated anywhere you can leave those. Okay, I gotta get the Osmond out of here. Come back soon, right here to the Dandy Funhouse, where everything is always fun and dandy. And may tomorrow be a perfect day.
Alan, Wayne, Merrill, Jay,